A beautiful young woman, Ava, is being hunted in a dark tunnel by a masked figure with glowing red eyes. The Reclaimer, a terrifying force from a ruined future. She's terrified, breathless, desperate to escape. Just as he closes in, a mysterious man named Darius appears calm, battle-worn, and from another time. He confronts the monster, giving Ava and Marcus, an unsuspecting bystander, a chance to flee. Secrets unravel fast. Ava holds something powerful, and the Reclaimer wants it. As danger escalates, no one knows who will survive. Will Darius stop him in time, or is this just the beginning of something far worse? 3. True Terror Street Ories. It was late September in Shreveport, Louisiana. The kind of night where the air sat heavy, and nothing felt quite right. That was when we first saw him standing by the tarot reader's porch, motionless, smiling behind a mask. Camille was 23, a local pageant girl turned receptionist, short dark hair, striking green eyes. She had no business being part of what came next, but she wanted answers. That's why she knocked on the door of Maudie's tarot room. I was with her Derrickand, so was Lena, our friend since college. Maudie read the cards, but none of us expected the fourth person already inside. A man in a dark coat, seated in the corner, face covered in a pale mask, eyes just holes. When the lights flickered, he laughed. A dry, deliberate sound. Camille asked what he wanted. He didn't reply. He just pointed at the cards on the table. Temperance sat at the center. We left after that, but he kept showing up. At Camille's work, outside Lena's apartment, on the train, across from me. Never saying anything, just watching. When Camille got a note slipped into her mailbox, it was just one sentence: come back and finish the reading. She wanted to ignore it. We all did. But that night, she didn't answer her phone. Her place was locked from the outside. Her shoes were still by the door. Inside, the table was reset, same as before. Candles lit. Cards laid out. No one there, but a faint smell of jasmine and mold. Then the mirror cracked on its own. We found her 2 days later, in a park 20 miles away. No memory. Her eyes wouldn't close when she blinked. She kept repeating one thing: he's not a man. He's the reason the cards shake. Now we stay together. We travel town to town, helping Maudie break the pattern. Because that thing, whatever it is, he follows the cards. And he always shows up for the 14th draw. In the final scene, he stands at the edge of the woods, mask tilted, coat brushing against the grass. His laugh returns softer now, almost like it's coming from inside you. Camille steps toward him once, like drawn by a string, then stops. He turns and vanishes. Step. But the cards remain on the ground. All 13 face up, one still flipped, and we know what's coming next. A beautiful young woman, Ava, is being hunted in a dark tunnel by a masked figure with glowing red eyes. The Reclaimer, a terrifying force from a ruined future. She's terrified, breathless, desperate to escape. Just as he closes in, a mysterious man named Darius appears calm, battle-worn, and from another time. He confronts the monster, giving Ava and Marcus, an unsuspecting bystander, a chance to... I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept replaying the moment his eyes met mine, those red, glowing orbs behind the iron mask. I'd never felt so exposed. Even now, lying in the back room of an old bookstore in the outskirts of what used to be Denver, I kept expecting him to burst through the wall. Darius sat across from me, silent, sharpening a strange, curved relic he called a soul key. His calm unnerved me. Next to him was May, a traveler he said he trusted. She looked about my age, dark curls, and a sharp gaze like she'd seen more than she let on. May offered me a cup of something warm. I held it, didn't drink. My fingers were still trembling. Earlier, we had run through the remains of a ruined bridge, chased by the one Darius called the Reclaimer. Not a name, a title. He wasn't trying to catch me. He was hunting something inside me. I didn't know who I was to him. Not really. When I asked Darius, he avoided my eyes, said things like, "Not yet," and "You'll remember soon." That scared me more than the Reclaimer ever could. We stayed in the bookstore because its walls were thick, reinforced before the collapse. Darius said the place was once a gathering spot for those who fought in the early resistance. Hidden beneath the floor was a stairway. He opened it. I hesitated, my gut twisted. May looked at me. "You've seen him before, haven't you?" she asked. I nodded slowly. Downstairs, the air changed, cold and strangely still. Dust floated like slow rain. There were old maps pinned to the walls, red threads stretching between cities, symbols I didn't recognize. But one wall stopped me. Photos, dozens of them, burned around the edges, faces blurred, but in the center, a single picture of a girl, me, but not quite me, younger, hair longer, same eyes. Written beneath it, in neat faded ink, Subject A, status, incomplete. I backed away, breath caught in my chest. Darius walked over and gently turned me toward him. "You've been here before, Ava. This was where they tried to turn you." "Tried to?" May cut in. "That's why he follows you. You carry what they failed to finish." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. That night, I dreamed again. Same place, same hallway. The Reclaimer without his mask. I never saw his full face, only that his mouth moved, like he was saying my name. But this time, someone else appeared. A man with pale eyes and silver streaks in his coat. He touched the Reclaimer's shoulder, and he stopped. Froze. Turned to dust. I woke up gasping, the sound of crumbling still echoing in my ears. Darius was gone, so was May. Only the relic remained on the table, glowing faintly blue. I picked it up. It was warm. The door to the shop creaked, not from wind. I stepped into the front room. There, framed in the doorway, stood the Reclaimer. No mask, just that face I never expected. Jonas, the boy I grew up with, the one I buried when I was 13. He stepped toward me, voice low. "They didn't kill me. They used me. And now, they want you back too." I shook my head. That's not me anymore. But he was already inside. The light shifted, shadows curling behind him. The floor trembled, books slid off shelves, and from behind the counter, May appeared again, eyes burning white. She raised her hand. Light pulsed. Jonas screamed not in pain, but in memory. And then Darius returned. His coat ripped. His hand cracked with energy. He looked at me, then Jonas. It was time to choose. But I couldn't move. Not because I was scared, but because deep inside, something stirred. Something ancient. And it whispered his name back to me. Jonas. My voice didn't sound like mine anymore. Darius saw it. He stepped back. May's light flickered. Jonas smiled. She remembers. The walls around us shifted. The room bent, reality pulling apart like a threadbare curtain. I saw flashes, a room filled with mirrors, a voice calling me the vessel, and the Reclaimer not as a hunter, but a guardian. May dropped to her knees. Darius raised his weapon, but I raised my hand first. He froze. Everyone froze, except me. I looked at Jonas and remembered the truth. We weren't hunted, we were unfinished. And the real enemy wasn't outside the door. It was waking up, inside me. The first thing I noticed was the smell of paper, dried herbs, and something metallic I couldn't name. I woke up on a couch that wasn't mine, in a room dimly lit by a swinging bulb. May was there, sitting quietly by the window. Her eyes didn't move when I stirred. She didn't ask how I felt. She just said, "You spoke in a voice that wasn't yours." I didn't respond. I could still hear it echoing in my head. That voice mine, but layered with something older, colder. Darius returned around noon, face drawn, shoulders tense. He dropped a folded map on the table and looked at me like he expected me to change shape any second. "There's a town up north," he said. "Abandoned, but they left something behind. We were leaving again. I didn't ask why. I didn't need to. The air around me was already growing heavier by the hour. We took a worn path through pine woods that never felt still. The trees whispered, not like wind but like breath. At night, the stars blinked in strange patterns. I saw names in them, names I never said out loud. Finn joined us 2 days into the hike, a former archivist, or so he claimed. Too cheerful, too clean, but May nodded at him like they had history, so I didn't push. He told stories around the fire. About a place called Marrow Point, where voices leak from cracks in stone. I asked if he believed in ghosts. He laughed. Only the ones that ask for directions. By the time we reached the town, my dreams had grown sharper. I had begun drawing symbols in my sleep. May kept the sketches. She never showed them to me. The town was called Elridge. Rows of collapsed buildings, a church missing its steeple, and a dry fountain with a statue that had no face. We entered a house near the edge, quiet, dust thick on everything. I wandered upstairs and found a room filled with broken mirrors. Each one cracked differently, as if trying to split a different truth. My reflection didn't match my movements. I tilted my head. It didn't. Finn called from downstairs. They'd found something beneath the floorboards, a hatch. Inside was a spiral staircase made of blackened wood. No dust, no cobwebs, like someone had used it recently. We descended. My pulse didn't rise, but my breath shortened. It felt like the walls leaned inward. At the bottom was a room lined with glass jars, inside each threads, floating, glowing faintly. A woman stood in the center, long coat, pale skin. She turned slowly. "Ava," she said. I didn't know her, but she said, "You were built to return. Darius moved between us. We're not here to finish anything." She looked past him. "You never left." The jars began to hum, a low resonance that settled in my bones. Finn backed away. May didn't move. The woman raised her hand and pointed to one jar. The thread inside snapped, and I remembered the basement, the machine, the noise. Jonas beside me, eyes wide, whispering, "Don't let them finish it." My knees buckled. The room spun. And then I was somewhere else. A hall of doors, all locked, except one. I opened it and saw myself hooked to something. Not wires. Something alive. Feeding. I screamed. No sound came out. When I came to, the woman was gone. The jars shattered. Finn had vanished. May was pulling me up, her eyes wet. She didn't explain. I didn't ask. We left the town at dusk. That night, Darius sat beside me. "You saw more than I did back then." "Back then?" He nodded slowly. "You weren't supposed to remember Elridge. That's where they broke you. That's where they rebuilt you." My voice cracked. "Am I still me?" He didn't answer. In the silence that followed, something stirred at the edge of the trees. A figure. Jonas again, but this time, not alone. Behind him others. Dozens. Eyes. Glowing faint blue. May rose quietly. They're all echoes, pulled back by what's waking inside you. I stood. I wasn't scared. Not anymore. I walked toward them, past the fire, past Darius, past May. Jonas stepped forward. "You're not broken, Ava. You're the key." And in that moment, I felt it. The pull. Not like destiny. Like gravity. And I didn't resist. The cabin we stayed in had no locks, only latches made of twine and bone. Lark said the place used to belong to a midwife, though no one remembered her name now. The windows faced the woods, and even during the day, light came in slow, like it had to think twice. I didn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the spiral again. The one from Elridge, but it was moving now. Not turning in on itself, but opening outward, like something underneath was waking up. May spent hours drawing maps that didn't match the terrain. Darius watched the tree line more than he spoke, and Mia kept hearing whispers under the floor. Finn's disappearance left a space we didn't talk about. Lark kept saying he probably took off on his own, but the look in her eyes said otherwise. Her voice had a tremble that hadn't been there before. One morning, I found a trail of salt along the kitchen wall. Not poured. Placed grain by grain, perfectly even. I asked Darius if he did it. He didn't answer. Later, when I moved a loose floorboard, I found a hatch. Smaller than the one in Elridge, but older. The metal was cold. Too cold. For summer. May warned me not to open it. Not yet, but I did. Inside was a narrow tunnel slanting downward, dug by hand. The walls were packed dirt, but they pulsed slightly, like they remembered movement. I didn't tell the others right away. I just watched it for hours. It hummed in a way that didn't make sound. My fingers tingled when I stood too close. That night, I dreamed of myself, seated in a chair, surrounded by ash-covered dolls. All of them had names stitched into their fabric. One of them had mine. The next morning, I woke to the smell of burnt pine. May was gone. Lark was pacing, breath shallow, hands covered in soot. She said May walked into the woods without shoes, no coat, left everything behind. Darius was already packing. "We need to find her," I said. He looked at me for a long time, then said, "Number. We need to follow her." We didn't argue, just followed the footprints through a trail of broken branches and melted frost. Hours passed. Then we found the clearing. At the center stood May, hands to her sides, staring at something we couldn't see. There was no sound, not even wind. And then she turned to me. "You were never supposed to come this far." The ground cracked open at her feet. A rush of air poured out, hot and old. Darius stepped back. Lark fell to her knees. I couldn't move. The spiral wasn't just a symbol, it was a door. I stepped forward, and the air thickened. I saw Flash's Jonas in a dark hallway, mirrors folding in on themselves, a forest where no one walked out the same. May spoke again. "They built you with pieces of places that don't belong here." And then she collapsed. We carried her back, but she didn't wake up. Not that night. Not the next. Her breathing was steady, but her eyes flicked rapidly beneath their lids. I sat beside her, unsure if I was mourning or waiting. Lark said we should leave the cabin, burn it, even. But I couldn't, because that hatch under the floor still hummed, because the ash in my hair hadn't come from fire, because something inside me remembered more than I ever lived, and because when I stood over May that night, she whispered 3 words that changed everything. "It's not done." And just for a moment, her eyes opened, but they weren't hers anymore.